Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Happy Hump Day.
Ruben Bressler.
Very professional Magic the Gathering podcast we have to bring to you tonight.
We are very we do it right. We're doing this correct. We're bringing it correct. We have decided that for we're doing Twitch streaming, and we're Twitch partner or affiliate or what have you. And for those who do subscribe, we'll thank you at the very end of the show. If I notice you during the show, we'll absolutely try to get that in there. But in the effort that many of our sort of viewers, listeners are podcast listeners, so the idea that you're just kind of like hearing this random sound come out of nowhere isn't really.
It's a bit out of
yeah.
So really no sound effect. No Kenji style new subscriber. None of that. We'll do it loading ready run style at the end. So.
Right. So because I think they did a fine job at coming up with something that was kind of in the middle. Doesn't really work on. It doesn't really hurt the flow. Right. But you can still do it if you want to.
We appreciate the feedback too, because we're kind of new at this, so we're not sure what to do quite yet.
Again, we're a very professional Magic the Gathering color.
We are the professionalist. And that's terrific. So, okay. So let's see here. $50 gifts given to CoolStuffInc.com. Clearly, we had lots of time to think about the giveaway. And of course, someone cheered, and that caused a noise, even though I turned it off. I don't know what to do. You know what? It's difficult, guys. It's difficult.
Professionals.
Profesh. Yes. Thank you very much for that. Okay.
Anyway,
let's move on to the first pick, okay? The first pick has to be Brawl got its, big boy underpants on. Brawl got real.
Got its very own banned list.
Its very own. It's time to think about Brawl in a different way. It's really cool. It's also nice. I appreciate when the players actually break it, It's oftentimes it's just sort of like a myth, that they're going to break the format. Well, they broke it, and it was Baral, and Baral broke that format. Right. They are creating a ban list for Brawl. Essentially, the biggest talking points essentially is that they're going to unban Aetherworks Marvel, Felidar Guardian, Attune with Aether, Rogue Refiner, Rampaging Ferocidon, and Ramunap Ruins. They are banning Brawl, Chief of Compliance, and Sorcerous Spyglass, because Sorcerous Spyglass kind of destroys anyone trying to play with a Planeswalker as their commander, because it's like the Pithing Needle. So there you are. Colorless Commanders are coming, not to Magic Online right now, not until Core 19 shows up, but they have rules for you in that if you want to play a Colorless Commander, aka it's Karn, it's just Karn.
You can play Hope of Gurapur.
It's just Karn.
And wow, it's legal.
I'm sure.
Can't you have a Traxos or Travos or the big Scourge engine?
There
you
go.
You can also
Scourge
have the
engine.
Monster 7/7. Yeah. It's fine, but it's
Traxos.
Karn.
It's probably Karn.
It's probably Karn. But the options have been looked over, and they are doing the following rules change. If you have a Colorless Commander, you can play any one type of basic land in your deck. So you can play all plains, all forests, all mountain, all swamps, whatever. You can't cross streams. Can't play two different types. That'd be weird. However, the deck building restraints are still there, so you're still going to have an all brown, mono brown, as they used to be called at least, deck of all artifact stuff. So you're still not going to have any mana symbols. You're just only going to have one type of land.
You can't have artifact creatures that have. There's a cycle of artifact creatures, for example, in Kaladesh, or perhaps it was Aether Revolt, that had color mana activated abilities, but were still artifact creatures. Can't run those, even if you're using the correct color of mana.
And they did a huge change before I hand it off here. They did a huge change where the starting life total for 1v1 is 20 instead of 30, because control decks are happier with that extra life to be able to kind of give them a buffer.
Correct.
And kind of get board domination established, where basically no aggro deck is going to be able to take down 30 life versus a control deck that can get you there later.
And that's part of the reason why Baral was so dominant, was that extra 50% life cushion, in addition to the fact that the more aggressive or even the mid-range decks didn't have the density of cards. The reason why Mono Red is so good in Standard is because you have 4 Hazarets, you have 4 Chain Whirlers, you have these really high-powered cards. When you only have one of each, It's very difficult to put together a strategy when your other 4-drops are pretty lackluster by comparison, or you have to start playing, you have one Glorybringer, but what's your other 5-drop? It's like a Sky Sovereign, it's probably not going to get you there as quickly or as efficiently. And so the singleton nature of the format, the 30 life, and the fact that counterspells are obviously significantly better in 1v1 rather than in a group format meant that Baral was so dominant in that format that it just took over immediately.
Well, frankly, I'm surprised. I mean, Baral had been dominant in 1v1 Commander for a while, and so I'm surprised that they thought that wasn't going to translate, or I'm surprised that they didn't consider that, because, you would think that there's some similarities there, and I can't imagine that maybe they thought like the power level wouldn't be, if you're using standard cards, maybe the power level wouldn't be as great, but like I said, frankly, I'm surprised that they didn't think of that, because my first thought when I thought of Brawl was you're going to have a lot of similar issues.
Fair enough. And thanks to those in the chat, I've changed it to where only 100 bits or more will make a notification, just so it can't get accidentally bombed, as it were.
Thank you for all the bits, but we won't get bit bombed, as apparently it's, or bit bombed.
little bit bomb on her.
So as for the Spyglass ban, there were a couple of other cards that are kind of problem children in Brawl, Spyglass being one of them, with Gideon's Intervention being another one that sort of falls in that line. Gideon's Intervention, though, is more of a problem child, but at least it requires 2 white mana symbols, and it's 4 mana, so it's not like Spyglass, which every deck can run. There are a couple of other cards that say all players instead of target player for whatever reason. The Torment of Hailfire, or Torrent of Hailfire, is the one that comes to mind, where if you just get that off for 10, it's just going to bomb the table, which is kind of crazy. Bit bomb the table, perhaps. But yeah, Spyglass is another good addition to the banned list. I'm glad that Ramunap Ruins and Rampaging Ferocidon, who've done nothing wrong to begin with, are at least legal in this format. I'm also relatively happy that you get to play with Marvel, that you get to play with Attune the Aether and Rogue Refiner and Felidar Guardian, because those are cards that, while, again, in multiples, you build a deck that's too consistent, particularly for Marvel. But in a singleton format, they're perfectly reasonable, and if you can get those combos off, more power to you.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting how they kind of, I mean, Gavin here goes deep. Like, they're talking about philosophies, they're talking about what they think is important. I very much appreciate that they're not trying to fracture multiplayer and single player. Like, Brawl single player does this, Brawl multiplayer does that. Because Brawl as a commander was more or less only really a problem for 1v1. Like, annoying in multiplayer, but often you could just gang up on the Brawl player and just, get them out. But like, 1v1 it was busted.
Well, not even ganging up, but there's also just the negotiating with the politics. If I'm playing my She-Ray deck, which is mono black, and I'm in a multiplayer game, there are certain permanents that I just can't deal with. But if I can negotiate with my friend who's sitting across from me and saying, hey, if you get rid of that enchantment, I promise not to kill you, or I promise not to do blah, that's a very fundamental, aspect of Commander. And when it's 1v1, you're playing that mono black deck, you have no way to deal with artifacts. You can maybe duress or something like that, but, there isn't a way to get out of it other than to, maybe have some main deck answers, but depending on your color, maybe there aren't any, and that leads to some really awkward situations. Right. So
absolutely. So thanks very much for our tier 1 sub of Martin Kaka.
Thank you.
That's super fantastic. Thank you very much.
Cock-a-doodle-doo. I do.
Cock-a-subble-doo. All right.
Yes!
Yeah, I'm terrible. All right, so but Brawl itself, it's fantastic that they came up with this idea. It's really flourished. It's done super well. I love all these changes. By the way, Smuggler's Copter is still banned. Come on.
Yeah, of course. That card is
dumb. I don't know.
That card is banned for the same reason that Sorcerous Spyglass is banned. It can be used in any deck. Everyone's going to be able to activate it and get value out of it immediately, especially once you drop down to the 20-point life total. Just way too good.
Yeah, not really close. So moving on here to Gather the Townsfolk, where interesting idea. Now, Wizards sometimes floats the idea of products through various surveys. They're doing market data, they're doing market testing. We even have this new sort of single color booster thing they're doing in Walmarts through North America, which was cool. We talked about. And there was another one that actually showed up that someone mentioned on Reddit, which is really cool. They said they received a survey from the mothership about a brand new $32 bundle box that could include 20 foil basic lands and exclusive alternate art rares. and that just as an idea sounds really cool.
I think that sounds great.
I think Wizards embracing alternate art as one of the ways to sell products, tangential products, sort of extraneous products from the standard booster pack is terrific. I think that's a great idea.
I remember back in the day of Fallen Empires where you would have, how many Hymnotoroks did we have? And, I remember the good old days like that. And so I'm fine with that. I love a good altar. I always look for ways to make art better. And so I think that's cool.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
at this price point, this is $4 a pack, which is basically what you're buying typically anyway. And so the rest of the stuff that would be included in the box would be gravy at that point. I mean, we're getting these promotional foil basic lands at GP Vegas, for example, and people seemed very excited by that.
Oh, yeah.
With the recent dearth of promotional foils being left by F&M and other sources, this would be another excellent addition to that. The timing of this suggests to me that this would be a holiday bundle.
It seems very holiday-esque in terms of the way that they would...
because they're releasing it enough time out that this might be something along those lines. But yeah, I think that this would be a great gift idea. And obviously the 20 foil basic lands I think would be very popular. We recently had someone suggest to us that we should do a top 10 basic lands art for our top 10 show, which would be tough to narrow down, particularly because Erin only has 4 behind her.
She's 1/5 of all the lands just chopped right off.
And then those alternate art rares, those could possibly potentially be a gold mine if one of them randomly became popular and you wanted one to pimp out your EDH deck or your Brawl deck or something like that. So I'm all for this.
Now, the only thing that might get in the way of this is I know they've been trying to improve the foiling process, but has it gotten any better with Dominaria? Can anybody comment on that?
I mean,
so the printing has been different. The printing of the cards is noticeably different. I have some Dominaria cards here and some Ixalan cards here. And so I'm not sure if it'll show up on camera, but I can notice holding them in my hands that the Ixalan cards aren't as glossy. You probably can't tell from the camera here, but this is an Ixalan card. This is a Dominaria card.
Okay.
And the Dominaria card, to me, is noticeably shinier. It is noticeably it feels even a little thicker, honestly, the card stock. And so when it comes to foils, I'm not sure exactly what the translation is there, but if the cards that they're being printed on are different, the comments say sniff the cards.
The cards do smell different. I actually finally got my hands on some Dominaria cards.
On me. Do you want me to sniff them?
No, they've been out of the pack too long. They're no longer fragrant. It's not fresh.
I have a pack. We can do this.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, there's differences in that you're getting an alternate art of a crap rare and you're getting an alternate art of Karn. You know what I mean? That's
right.
That's a whole different level. Alternate art Lyra. You know what I mean? Like which one of which rares are eligible for this alternate art? That's huge. If it's like mythic rares all have alternate art, that's a huge selling point. Like that's going to get everybody excited. That's going to get the third-party sellers. That's going to get the shops to open their boxes to sell the singles and stuff. Like that's going to get people going nuts. Like if it's just a bunch of crap rares, or a select number of rares that no one cares about money-wise.
If it's randomly sorted like, boxes are, like if you get a random selection of 20 foil basics and a random selection of like 3 or 5 rares from recent sets. Now notice that this says rares, not mythics. And so they might leave cards like Karn out and leave cards like Lyra out, but instead have cards like, Siege Gang Commander, I guess, is the one that comes to mind.
Sure. But that to me is
stuff in.
Right. That to me is Wizards going like, well, we don't want all the money. It's weird how they do that sometimes. They're just like, we could make a bunch of money, or we could just make like a little bit of money. I'm cool with a little bit of money. Can you
imagine how, look back at those pre-release, or what were they?
Like those Ugin ones?
Ugins, yeah, or specifically what I'm talking about, which are like $250 or something absurd. Or those Emrakul, the Eons Torns from the where were those from? From the
RPTQ.
Yeah, those just got ridiculous. And so if you did that and put it in a specialized product, and there were alternate art Karns floating around, but at like a tenth the number of even those, that's a problem.
But that's also being sold at Walmart, at Target, at like mass market. You're going to have a very large number of these out. If it's part of the holiday bundle, like you know, A plus B, you get the foil lands, you get the sweet alternate art, you could open up $100 Karn. Like that in and of itself builds a really fantastic product.
And I bet those foil lands go really good with your Storm deck that you can also buy at Walmart.
There you go.
Storm at Walmart, y'all. Hashtag Storm at Walmart. I will never let them live that down. Storm at Walmart, I swear. Well, we got a little teaser this week from our friend Trick Jarrett. Announcement day, y'all. It's Friday. Now, how much
We're
they announce?
We're announcing that announcements are coming.
Yo, dog. I heard you like announcements. So we announced our announcement so we can announce while we announce. And the announcement day coming is huge. If this kind of, you know, follows the pattern, this is Wizards letting us know for the rest of the year what's coming, which last year ended with, you know, Morrow screaming and being held back, screaming about Unstable and how Unstable was coming and it was going to make it happen and so on and so forth. Also,
so
the time to get in your bets.
Yeah, are they going to announce what the rest of the year's sets are going to be?
That is the expectation, because remember they went to this, you know, this format of like, we're going to give you like a huge amount of announcements at a time instead of kind of metering them out. Personally, I don't like that strategy. I feel like there is power in getting people excited about a lot of different things at, you know, because imagine, you know, next week
spread out through
we're going to be over here trying to get all these announcements in while trying to talk about everything else.
Yeah, next week is going to be a problem. Show.
It's just going to be busy, and that's a good thing. I mean, for what it's worth, I'd rather have too many topics than not enough. But I'd also like to say, if the fall set is a big thing, and we can just kind of dive deep in that, or if there's a really cool product that they announce that's coming up soon, or if they could really like market Battle Bond, because no one has any idea what's in the friggin' set. Could you please?
Well, now we did receive our preview card.
We have a preview card.
Other creators have also tweeted that they've received cards as well. So we're getting an indication. We just can't talk about it yet, but you know, we still don't know very much.
We can say that we have a card, yes, and we can say that we have a Magic card.
And also thanks to the FCC and lawyers, we paid nothing for this preview card. We weren't compensated anyway for this preview card. Hashtag free stuff.
We have to say that because the FCC won't let me be or let me be me. So let me see.
Wow. Okay. Well, this Friday should be really exciting. Obviously, we'll talk about it next week, and that's great. Ruben and/or Aaron. Yes. Tell me about Gary Campbell. Tell me about the person who won GB Birmingham and what that meant.
I mean, I'll lead off.
Go for it.
So Gary Campbell is the victor of Grand Prix Birmingham. He was playing a deck after my own heart, a mono red prison deck,
and he beat Dredge.
And he beat Dredge in the finals, or not in the finals. We beat Dredge in the top 8. Beat Grixis, Delver, check pile kind of thing in the finals. Making mono red prison 1 for 8,472 in legacy tournaments now. But yeah, he was victorious. And if you go back and watch this clip of Gary Campbell, who is affectionately referred to as the Scottish godfather of Magic, people went insane for this guy. Like, I don't think I've seen love for a victory like this ever, just by the outpouring of the local community. He won the Legacy tournament at Grand Prix Birmingham. They pulled out all the stops. There's a clip of him holding up the trophy in front of fireworks.
Yeah.
Like, everyone just loves this man, and for good reason. I don't know him personally, but apparently he is unique in Magic culture in that Scottish Magic wouldn't be nowhere without him. Like, from what I understand, he's the guy that brought the Magic community to Scotland. And while there are people out there like Willie Edel, for example, who are sort of like the bastions, like the main center focal point, like Martin Juza, for example, is another great one. But those are pros. Those are Hall of Famers who, have long histories and credentials of success on the Pro Tour scene. Gary Campbell doesn't. He's not a Pro Tour player. He's just a man who loves the game and has been playing forever. He's also the oldest Grand Prix champion ever at age 52.
Wow.
And people just poured out their love and support for him.
He cried. The Twitch clip that went viral is him once he realized he won the game. He got very emotional, and he, was trying to keep it in, and you could see that he was very choked up. And then, obviously when you see a pack of your peers cheering for you, that's going to make you even more emotional. And yeah, I mean, there was just no way you couldn't root for this guy. It's one thing to root for the 20-year-old who's been grinding, his whole life, but it's another to be somebody who hasn't had the success. And I think a lot of people mistakenly think that if they're not good, they can't impact their communities positively, and you can. And so, there are little things you can do, or just simply playing for as long as you have. It made him very relatable, and it made him somebody that I think everybody could root for. And I don't know anybody that wasn't happy for him, and it was just a really, really special moment.
Absolutely.
Cool. So
it's 100% already on our list for Mike C's. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, and on a serious note, on a spikier note, the deck is really good. Legacy is really, really greedy right now. I mean, you have a lot of cheap spells that are being played, obviously, the 1 to 3 converted mana cost. Everybody's running these 4-color check pile decks. People are leaning on Deathrite Shaman for mana. Sometimes just cheating on a Trinisphere or cheating on a turn 1 Blood Moon can really just get you there. And so as much as I don't like facing it, I do think that it's a very good metagame call right now. If you really want to deal with the nonsense that's going on in Legacy, sometimes just playing a great prison deck can get you there.
When I finished second place in a Star City Games Open with a similar painter deck, but it had Blood Moons and it had Chalice of Voids and stuff like that. Decks like this, especially when the metagames get super greedy, the best deck at the time when I got second place was Shardless Bug. Had no basics, had a bunch of 1-drops, was just trying to jam all the best cards together, be damned with the consequences of the mana base. When you've got Gary Campbell playing 4 Magus of the Moons, 4 Blood Moons, 4 Fiery Confluence to wipe away all those idiots you got on the other side of the board, in addition to the Chrome Moxes and all the fast mana, and the Ensnaring Bridges, which helped shut down the Dredge strategies. Oh, by the way, Karn Scion of Urza winning this GP as well.
Wow.
Just in case you thought that it was limited to only Standard, fighting alongside 2 Chandra, Torch of Defiance, 2 Karn, Planeswalkers taking over. So that's it was delightful to see the deck win. It was delightful to see the person win. It was delightful to see the moment. We don't talk about when players win GPs a ton, but this one in particular was just a special moment.
Legacy also had good numbers in terms of viewership. People love to watch Legacy, and so that was really great to see as well, because a lot of people like to, there's a lot of talk lately about buyouts and whether or not these formats are going to last, and so to see people have this desire to watch what some call a stagnant or dying format felt really good.
Yeah, I mean, that touched a little bit on MTG Finance, but ultimately, I appreciate that decks like that keep them honest. You know, when you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. But you get too nuts, and then Magus of the Moon shows up and kicks your butt out.
Well, I mean, I hate to get too much on a soapbox. I mean, I'll keep it brief, but it's like I feel like when decks like that are popular, when decks like Turbo Depths are popular, I feel like that's a sign that your format's got a problem. Like when Eldrazi Winter was a thing, back when Modern was going on, you saw this rise of like painful decks that were like, again, just sort of there to fight this really powerful strategy. And so I feel like when you see these really, obnoxious prison style decks come out, they're really only coming out to fight a problem that the rest of the format can't seem to tackle. And so I really hope that something is done to kind of make Legacy a little better, because I feel like if the format were in a healthier place, you wouldn't see these very painful decks. And so to me, it's sort of a symptom of a larger problem.
I also feel like it's also a symptom of like a self-correcting metagame of you got greedy.
Oh, well,
absolutely. This is the extreme it takes for you to stop doing that. Like,
and
you gotta go so bad.
And the thing about that is that whenever there's a reactionary deck that wins something like this, whenever a prison deck, even a dredge deck, whenever a super linear try to do one thing deck wins a tournament, the next week it's awful for that deck. Everyone shows up with ways to, like, there's going to be more Abrupt Decays next week than there will have ever been. Yeah, there's going to be more Pox decks. Like, there's going to be answers to the mono red decks winning this week, and it'll self-regulate.
Yeah.
You're muted, Evan.
So we're going to move on here to a non-muted version of myself.
Professional Magic the Gathering internet television program.
Professional. To the Heroes of Dominaria, the board game world of which I have been just completely immersed in now for about 2.5 years. And board games are fantastic. Board games are super cool. It's always great to see like how gaming can be interesting on the tabletop and different ways that you can play. You know, and also, you know what's fun about board games? It will show you exactly what you hate about gaming. Like, literally, exactly. It turns out that games that are very take that, you know what I mean? Where like, you know, screw you, and then screw you, and then, you know, break your trust, and then go back on my word on this and that. I hate those games. I hate them to death. I can't stand it. One of the game that isn't like that is Heroes of Dominaria, which is mainly a very Euro-style game. And they unveiled some of what the final board would actually look like, and some of what the miniatures could look like. I'll bring it up here on the screen if you're watching. And mentioned that you're going to be able to play as Jorah, Karn, Teferi, or Chandra. You'll draw mana from familiar locations, use that mana to recruit heroes and go on quests and cast spells and all that good stuff. And I got to play this at Gamma in a prototype form, so I know sort of essentially the way that the gameplay is. You know, a few things about this, and the map's actually looking really cool. Obviously, a lot cooler than just the prototype one I got to play with. And the minis look super sweet. It doesn't look like we're repeating the sins of the past with Arena of the Planeswalkers, which didn't do well, and the miniatures were kind of a disaster, which is good. But here's one of the problems. One of the problems is that the game's going to come out, and you're not going to be able to buy the one with the sweet figures. And later, the game's going to come out with the sweet figures, and if the first box, you know, the first one that doesn't have the sweet figures doesn't sell very well, well, then that's a problem. And if the second one sells well, they're only going to make so many of them because they're like the deluxe version or whatever. And lastly, it's a little, I understand the need or the want to not put a magic card in that box. Okay. I get that. I get it. I understand that you want these products, this product, to live on its own. It's going to live or die, whether that's a good game or not. And I'm like, I just want them to be successful. And it really doesn't take a lot. You could just be a basic land. It could just be a basic land. I guess I'm just
confused as to, like, the last two games, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't successful?
No, they were giant monster failures.
I guess I just don't understand why we're going back to this well. Like, how many times are we... I just don't understand why we're doing this again. Like,
there's definitely... Well, first of all, that was a reskinned Heroescape. And Heroescape as a game is fine, but is fairly, you know, kind of locked in old school, like super, like 1980s, early 90s type board gaming. This is an all-new design that very much goes, you know, follows Euro game principles. And what by that I mean, you're taking bits and you're turning resources into other things, and you're kind of moving bits around, and you're putting little pieces
Eurogame
of wood.
refers to minion placement games, and so games like Lords of Waterdeep are very similar to this.
Right, that's a worker placement game.
I guess I'm just concerned as to, like, who asked for this? Like, who? I don't understand, like, what void you're trying to fill. I don't.
WizKids feels as though there is money to be made in Magic board games. They didn't more likely choose the right one with Shadow or with Arena of the Planeswalkers or whatever.
Or Explorers of Ixalan?
Yeah.
Explorers of Ixalan wasn't necessarily a board game, because that was more like a Magic product that had a board game element. Does that make sense?
You know, but yeah, I just don't know who this is for. Like, I don't know why we're here.
This is much more, I mean, Explorers of Ixalan was a much bigger chance that they took, and obviously it didn't pay off. This is a much more traditional style board game, and so it appeals to that audience without necessarily having to appeal to Magic players. You know,
Explorers had decks and everything. I mean, the whole shebang. And
I mean, this is a thing that can appeal to board gamers regardless of their connection to Magic, just like Lords of Waterdeep can appeal to board gamers regardless of their connections to Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. So this is trying to span that gap and say, this is where Wizards is like, you know, they want the Puzzle Quests of the world, and Puzzle Quest didn't give you any Magic cards. This is a board game.
Puzzle Quest also wasn't successful, depending on who you ask.
Depending on who you ask, I guess that's a question. All I'm saying is, I think the game is fine. I don't think it's going to be winning any awards for gameplay. I think it's good and straightforward. It's not bad. Let me just say that.
Can we bring the page back up on the screen for the people and scroll down to that Teferi mini for a second? Look at this Daishiki on Teferi. This is a hell of a Met Gala outfit that Teferi, the Mage of Zolfar, is walking into the concert with. I mean, that is a hell of a look.
That's a look right there.
He's got the boots with the Zolfar. That's great.
He is. Yeah, that's right. That was a high quality joke.
Miss Joyra though Miss Joyra's got a little shake and go wig going on. She needs to upgrade. Just look at
There's
that.
a couple interesting things happening with these characters. I mean, you've obviously got Santa Fe Teferi happening. Joyra has no red on her outfit. Teferi is chiseled out of an onyx statue for whatever reason. That's not a silver golem.
Right.
That's a little upsetting. But
you can tell by the way he walks, he's a woman's man. No time
my
to
God.
talk. You know what I'm saying? Whew. But the game itself, again, I'm excited that it come out because like I like new Magic products. I like different products. I want WizKids to be successful, and that's because they're going to want to make more Magic games. As far as I know, they are making more Magic games. You know, there's going to be a different board game next year than the one from this year.
Yay.
I don't
unless this is successful.
No, I mean, like, even if this one isn't that successful, they already have plans for additional games. But
why?
Because they're trying to take the IP in different places. I mean, ultimately, I don't like the two different versions. That's my personal thing. My thing is they do this with Dungeons and Dragons. They've made Assault of the Giants, which was a D&D board game. It had two different versions, and I feel like they just cannibalize each other. And they make the sales of both look weaker because you're either choosing one that comes out later or choosing the first one and then going like, man, I wish I had the sweet, you know, painted minis or whatever, because otherwise you just got meeples.
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but also going straight with D&D, you can buy the Wrath of a Shardalon board game, you can buy the Curse of Strahd board game, and you can mix them together. Those pieces are interchangeable for that game in particular.
Sure.
So if they do that with Magic, that'd be great. If next year we had 4 different characters, 3 Planeswalkers and a non-Planeswalker for whatever reason, then that can be sort of added on to this, then great. But the fact that they've locked it into Dominaria means that you can't really do that, it seems. And so,
well,
I wish that they had a more module plan going forward.
Right.
I just wonder if this is just, and I'm not trying to be petty here. I'm just wondering if this is the best way to spend the resources. Is all I'm saying.
This is a model that WizKids has used for D&D games, and they feel it can work for Wizards' other properties. And at the end of the day, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. The game itself is fine. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. I certainly don't think it's a bad game. It's a good, straightforward thing that I think people can enjoy who don't know Magic. That's fine.
I mean, WizKids has partnered with Wizards of the Coast before. They've done the Dungeons and Dragons games, as we were just talking about. They've worked with Avalon Hill and Magic the Gathering. They just haven't figured out that equation yet. They haven't figured out the mix, the proper recipe. They will get it right someday. And so to say, I mean, your concern, Aaron, is valid, but these two things are so popular on their own that it is impossible for it to not work eventually, but it might take a while because it is taking a while. You're definitely right there.
All I wish is they would put a card in the box. Just a card. I don't care
what it
is.
That would help.
I don't care what it is. You gave IDW a comic book. You gave them unique promos, but you won't give the board game a unique promo? Just like, give me something. Even again, just a land, just a plane.
Yeah.
I don't care. Just something.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a thing. Again, I understand why, but I disagree. All right, so moving on here to an issue I didn't even know was an issue. And I appreciate Brian DeMars letting us know what it is. We have a really stupid rule, and it's time to fix it because this is really dumb. First of all, I understand why the rule is the way it is because team tournaments have gotten really popular over the past couple weeks.
The pros hate them.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
There were several pros on Twitter this weekend that were like, yeah, we're tired. Like, it was cute for a while, but like, we're ready to move on. And
the novelty wore off relatively quickly.
I swear to God, I don't know what's up with our alerts. I thought I turned everything off, but whatever. But thank you, David Garfinkel, for a subscription. Brian DeMars explains what happens when you sit down for team constructed and you sit at the wrong seat. Now, at Grand Prix, as I understand it, they fixed this issue with the A player has like the red band on their wrist, and the B player has a different color, and C player has a different color. That way, you match up colors, and you can't ever, get them wrong. So, first of all, take notes. Second of all, the fact that this rule works the way it does is really super terrible. If I sit down and I'm at the wrong seat, let's say I'm playing standard and my opponent is playing legacy, and they are in the right seat. They are in what should be the legacy seat, whatever that is, I guess in the middle. I will get a game loss, and so will the other person sitting in the wrong seat, and then you'll just start up game 2. And there's a whole bunch wrong with that. First of all, it's just over the top. It's just really cruel, almost.
It's like, pretty draconian. It's certainly, now, to be fair, this is the rule as written. This is raw as it is currently stated. What we're arguing is that this shouldn't be the rule because it just kind of sucks. It's a really ham-fisted way to handle the problem, I think.
I would also want to make. I mean, I don't remember the last time I played in a team event, but what did the match slip look like? Like, was the match slip written in such a way to where, because typically, like, I know when you're playing 1v1, you say, if your opponent's name is Brian, you're like, Brian, and they go, Aaron, and you introduce yourselves. And with a team event, is it not laid out in such a way where, like, the first names play each other, the second? I'm not saying he's wrong or he deserves it. I'm just trying to understand, was there confusion on an administrative level, too, to where it wasn't clear who they were playing, or... Because Word isn't perfect, and so the printouts maybe need work too. Is what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, ultimately, the idea is that this seems like one of those really great examples of, letter of the law versus spirit of the law, and the idea that this was written in a time before team events even really became that popular, became that big of a thing. It's time to come back to it. Please, Judge Program, if someone knows someone who knows someone, just let them get up and move seats. It's really dumb. Just let them get up and move seats. That's it. I mean, first of all, Brian was talking about how he had a great opening hand, and now his opponent has more information because they get to sideboard for games too. So, and he has no information on his opponent because they just got to scoop immediately.
If both players got a game loss, then they shouldn't be getting to sideboard.
No. The players who sat incorrectly, the other player on the other team, where 2 of their 3 was sit incorrectly,
I see.
They get the game loss. You don't get the game loss. They get the game loss.
Okay.
But they also know what, like, for example, for Brian, it was he played a Taiga. Well, there's only so many decks in Legacy that you can reasonably guess play Taiga, and he's playing lands. And he was like, and I had like the Stone Cold Nuts. He had a great hand he wanted to play, but now he's playing game 2 against someone who knows some information versus somebody he has no information. This whole thing is silly. I
think that it's certainly worth looking at the rules, and I'm very thankful that folks like Brian, even I was reading his comments section, and his comments section is, don't ever read the comments, but we read the comments sometimes, and specifically for
our friend Pharmacist Judge is saying that you are not allowed to sideboard. And
okay,
as I recall, I was reading in the article that they were allowed to sideboard.
Right, and I also think that, not for nothing, SCG handles their team events differently than GPs do, and so that also adds a whole nother layer of confusion and consternation to this, which is, let's all get everybody together and have one rule on this.
Yeah, I think that the ruling should be adjusted, and likewise the paper. Make sure the paperwork's on point. Get the bracelets if you can. I think every rung in the ladder should be addressed.
This is a classic warning. This is just a warning. This is don't be stupid.
This should be a high topic of conversation, and thankfully Brian brought the conversation up because it does require articles and cultural discussion like we're having here in order for it to get moved along, because this does seem like it's a problem worth addressing.
Right, because at that point it's treated as a tardiness error, not a deck reg as it appears. And again, it's because if there's a deck reg error, then you are allowed to sideboard for game 2, I believe. But the point is, again, we bring this up so everyone can see it and talk about it and listen to how this makes no sense, and Wizards can just be like, it's downgraded to a warning, this whole thing is silly, you get up and move seats and you move on with your life. The whole thing's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on here to some desperate ravings, because we got some ravings that are pretty desperate this week. Ninox Morepork on Twitter. Heck of a name. Michelle has incredible.
AKA Michelle Rapp.
Yeah, Michelle Sapperling Herder, per her current Twitter handle. Just basically kind of went off on a little bit of a Twitter rant, noting that, hey, Magic Story is a little bit disappointing for her. And I think it culminated in Stern Jace, sort of hashtag Stern Jace, where Jace shows up and he's like, hey, you can come help me, Ravnica. And they're like, no. And he's like, I hate you guys. I'm going home. And he portals his way out of there.
He reverts back to previous, angsty Jace after having learned nothing from his months on Ixalan.
Yeah. So the issue was that there was so the problem is, and this isn't any shade to Martha Wells, and Michelle clarifies that in her Twitter thread, but when you're taking people who've written these characters and know these characters and have been doing this for years and replacing them with somebody who doesn't know these characters. And while Martha is a good writer, she doesn't necessarily know these characters. And so, it was a very stark difference from the Jace who seemed to have grown a lot as a person in Ixalan, and then to come to Dominaria, it felt like all of that kind of went out the window of where did that guy go? Like, how did we go? You could tell that a different writer had kind of taken up the mantle, and then you combine that with the fact that Kelly Diggs is no longer with us, Kimberly Cranes is no longer with us, Michael Yu Chao is no longer with us, Allison's no longer writing stories, all of these people are suddenly not in the picture anymore. And so, Michelle was kind of connecting all of these things together and saying that, where are your priorities here? Like, is your priority with the story? What's it going to be like in the future? Like, are you just sort of giving us the bare minimum to really get these cards across? Like, I thought they were very valid concerns, and I thought that she raised her points well, and I thought that she took the feedback well and even the criticism well, because some people did disagree with her. But I think it's something we've all kind of noticed, and we talked about Kelly's departure of, like, you have like the most massively successful set and one of your key world builders isn't there, and when you look at the pattern of other world builders are no longer with us, and what does that mean?
Yeah,
my big thing, sorry, go ahead.
It just puts such a one-dimensional take on a character that they tried so hard to give more dimensions to.
And there were people who really came around to Jason Ixalan. Like, even Reddit was like, I remember, because Reddit sometimes does the they post a link of the story, but sometimes someone will do like a TLDR for the people who didn't read the story. But even Reddit was like, I didn't even like Jace. Like, Jace, the Ixalan storyline really endeared Jace to a lot of people.
And that's the big thing for me, is that it's ironic that sets like Rivals of Ixalan, Aether Revolt, Oath of the Gatewatch, sets that I don't particularly like playing, but the story was so resonant. Like, I absolutely fell in love with Yahenni, for example. I think that was just a masterclass in how to make a mono-black character not evil. I think that Jace's character development in the Ixalan and Rivals storyline with Vraska and talking with Azor really put his character development into another gear that I think was really interesting and important, even for kind of a less than spectacular set. The formation of the Gatewatch obviously is a big deal, and we got to see all these multifaceted layers to all of these planeswalkers. And now I feel like this story is just a lot. I mean, they're being reduced. They're
just being boiled
like
down
you said,
to.
They're more one-dimensional.
Right. Again, if Jace is always pissed off, if Jace is always like brooding and he's always upset and he's always, just trying to get things done or whatever, that's more or less the way he used to be. And now we have like, he kind of broke through with Vraska, and they had the friendship, and then maybe more, and then they had to hide it, and they're going to come, he's got that thing he can break out when they see each other again to help kill Nicol Bolas and yada yada. It's like all of that stuff was important, and now it's like, but what happened to the character? Like, he shows up and he's just like a petulant whatever and moves on.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, that I feel almost like I almost feel like we didn't help the situation when we were telling Wizards, if they were listening, how much we liked Allison's work on the story. Remember, it was like, well, Allison can't be praised.
Every week we were like, yeah,
Allison can't be praised over other people because that hurts people's feelings or whatever. And now all of a sudden, they're not on the story at all, and they have an external writer because that'll fix all the egos because no one's writing in the building, therefore no one in the building can get the credit.
And again, this isn't a Martha Wells problem. No. Like, Martha Wells is a spectacular writer. I loved her story today. I thought that the Slimefoot story today was my favorite. From like we got to inhabit Slimefoot in the way that like R2D2 and C3PO watch Star Wars with us when we watch Star Wars.
Right.
Like when Slimefoot just gets to walk around and watch all these other characters.
And waves at people, so much waving.
And waves
I love
at people. And it's just like when R2D2 and C3PO are like, oh, check out this Anakin jackass, right? Like, it's that kind of feeling that you get with that story. I thought that was a really creative thing to do.
Right.
She's being hamstrung as well. Is the problem. This is all from higher up. This is all a bigger issue overall. And it's I mean, you know, and that's also hinted at in the fact that these stories don't have titles anymore. Like, can you? This is chapter 10. Can you tell me exactly what happened in chapter 4? No, of course not. There's no title. But you can tell me what happened in, you know, Jace Alone, or, you know, the story with like Tamio's kids, or any of those like really resonant stories from back in the day. They have titles that you can, you know, and once you say, oh, right, that's the one about Huatli making it to the top of the tower, like those you can remember. There's so many things at play here that hint to it not being any one person's fault. It's a systemic thing. Mm-hmm. And we've talked a lot about how Magic is moving forward in a lot of great ways. And a lot of it having to do with new lines of thinking and new ways of moving forward. And they've done some excellent things. This is a side effect of that isn't quite so excellent.
Right. I mean, again, this is not on the author. I think she's actually doing a really good job of what she's given. I just feel like maybe what she was given wasn't, you know, sort of where they had gotten to the story with the characters, or some of that stuff was just thrown out and it was like, you know what? You know, we're just doing this instead.
I mean, it would be like if Ruben and I swapped shows. You know, Ruben and I are both good podcasters, but like if I tried to do the interviewing, you know, I can't get Ruben's flavor down. I can't get his character down. If he tried to do the deck tease, it doesn't mean that we're not good podcasters. It just means that we haven't been there. We haven't invested the character. And kind of the same thing. Martha's doing a great job writing, but she's writing in a way that she doesn't know these characters very well. And so that's kind of the thing.
I think I could do the girlfriend bracket. What do you think?
You think so?
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. People often refer to the Ruben Bressler bracket being, asking me if I borrowed my cards from friends of mine because I'm so bad.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
And I do like a nice sweater vest. I mean, I have been known to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, also members of the community, and this is actually probably a little bit more of splash damage, but who cares? It's our show.
Yeah, we want
it. Loading Ready Run is doing a project that they call Road Quest, which is a new endeavor for them, and they've been raising money for it. And you can see the tweet on the screen here that they're 1 week out from leaving for it, and they're going to be filming stuff and, you know, turn it into a series, which is awesome. And they're going to wrap up funding support on Friday night, so go to LRCC/RoadQuest for more info if you want to donate to them and whatnot. That'd be awesome. To just kind of, you know, help them with a new creative endeavor, which is always.
I love this. This is something I don't think I've ever seen before. You know, the idea of a gaming comedy troupe or comedy group, or even just a collection of nerds, you know, going on the road. I think this is great. And like, you know, I feel like LRR is just so innovative. You know, they're always finding new ways to change the game, and that's what you're supposed to do. And God bless them. I hope this works out.
Yeah.
I'm desperately and madly in love with their new program called The Panelists, which is I have nonstop laughed at every single episode thus far. Any show that has a Boutros Ghali reference that takes over half of their program is instantly going to be one of my favorites. Everything LRR does is great. Obviously, we've been up there for the pre-release, so we are brothers in arms at this point. Not you. You haven't been invited yet because nobody likes you.
I'm just waiting for Return to Ravnica, because you can't have you got to bring your Golari girl. You know what I'm saying? So
you don't have to, but you're right. If there is a return, Golari is certainly happy to recycle stuff.
So. saw what you did there. My God. Now look, this next story sounds like something I would do, and I mean that in the best way, because I like to find ways to make Magic players excited. I like to find super cool, new, different products to do that. I like to come up with weird, zany stuff that may or may not work. And I can just see myself going, guys, I got it. Foil playmats. And you go like,
nope.
Heaven, no. Heaven. And I'm just like, foil playmats, guys. Oh my God, it's going to be shiny. It's going to be sweet. I'm going to access. And my God, they did it. Grand Prix Vegas is going to have anniversary playmats. Now, for what it's worth, not the biggest fan of the design myself, but that said, foil playmats. Ruben, foil playmats.
Nope. No, I can't. I thought I had an aneurysm while reading this headline, because we have our show notes here, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a story. Anniversary playmats, foil playmats, and I went, that can't be a combination of words. Because that makes no sense whatsoever.
Is the whole thing foil, or just the font and the flower?
No, I think the font and the lotus and the 25 in the lower right-hand corner are going to be the shiny parts.
Right.
Okay.
The shiny parts are what you can see on the black. So clearly, it looks as though you can only do one color foil. I'm not sure if that's true.
I'm going to reserve judgment, but as far as I'm aware, like you roll up playmats, right? Like you have to move them around and stuff, and anything that's shiny, I can't think of anything that would work as a material for being a playmat that you could also roll up. So they're going to have some science department of research and development working on, get those folks down at Playmat Labs working on this to make it functional.
I mean, well, listen, the last time there was any significant improvement in playmat technology was double-sided playmats, and that's
vertical one was pretty nifty.
I mean, the vertical one was just more or less like an adjustment of the picture. This was like, literally they put an entirely different mat on both sides. Okay. Also made them super slidey, but whatever. It was a cool idea. And I thought it was great for double-sided cards. I thought that was brilliant. So for what it's worth, again, that's a very similar idea. It sounds like that I would come up with. And because I laud them for it, because if this printing is working, if it doesn't scratch off, like this is the type of item where they really, really, really needed just like a 10-second Twitter video of them showing them moving the playmat and the foil itself doing stuff. This is where you needed that bad. Just telling me it's foil and telling me I got to buy the $200 package, which, speaking of, we're going to get to that here in just a minute, even then in the official show notes, I'm going to get to that. But you're telling me I got to spend $200 for this foil playmat. You're not showing me how the foil works. This is the first time I've ever done that in history of Magic. That's important. But I love the innovation. I absolutely love the innovation. I think it's great. Grand Prix DC. $80. $80
per person.
Per person. $240 per team. No playmat. Look, few things about this. And we'll get into this actually because of a different article that was talking about the costs and things of stuff. And I'm bouncing ahead a little bit because, again, it's our show. We do what we want.
Sure.
Where essentially someone had went on Reddit and later on Twitter and was just like, guys, you're not going to believe this. They make money off Grand Prix. Oh, my God. Did you hear them say that? They make the money off the Grand Prix. Yes, they make money off Grand Prix. I know it's weird. It's almost like they put in a ton of time and effort and dollars of their own making into making those events work. Basically, they're like, I called up the convention center, and I found out how much it takes to get one of those rooms. We're all getting fleeced. It's like, let's hold on just a second here, guys.
Bless their heart.
But again, if you're super upset about this, don't go. Don't play in the event. I know it's crazy, but here's what happens. Magic players get pissed off, and then they sign up for the event anyway. And
now,
that's not how change happens, just so we're clear.
To be fair, $240 for 3 players to get 12 packs is too many dollars.
That's a few too many. In my opinion, I feel that's you're pushing your envelope, okay?
That's I mean, how much is a 1-player sealed GP? Let's say a 1-player sealed GP is $80. That's still a lot. I mean, let's say it's $100.
That's
right?
Still a lot.
That's a lot. I'm going to do some quick math on my cell phone here real quick.
Oh, good.
$100 divided by how many packs you get for sealed? 6? That's $16 a pack. That's still a lot.
It's a lot of dollars, yes.
$80 a person, $240 for 12 packs. That's $20 a pack. For your 3-person team. That's even more. If I'm a math scientist.
This discussion has a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of angles to approach it from. You have to approach the issue of labor, that you're paying for judges, you're paying for vendors, you're paying for product. Wizards isn't giving out the product that they used to, and so these TOs are having to foot the bill for the packs and the boxes and everything that they give away. And then how much space comes with the venue, and if the venue ends up selling out, they have to open up a wall, they have to open up more space, and if they have to get more chairs and more tables and things like that. But then there's also the issue of it would be one thing if they were taking in more money from the front end, but you were seeing it trickle down, where if the side event prizes were good, well, no, those got cut too, and so we're now down to 3 side events, rounds instead of 4, and so there is valid criticism here, but at the same time, I think that so much goes into running events that I don't think is common knowledge and isn't out there in order for us to really make the best statements on it. So, but they're not entirely wrong, but a lot goes into these things.
Right, and I've been very much deep into the cost and logistics, and the idea that a convention center space costs X and you're making Y off of Z entries is not the exact equation you're looking for, because first of all, you have to put a whole bunch of money up front, often a year in advance, and that's not a small amount of money. Second of all, you have to pay the people through the whole time before the event happens, right? All of these people who do all of this logistical work, they need to get paid during the months where the GP isn't happening. So there's that. And yes, there's sales at the booth, and yes, there's sales for booth costs for other vendors who want to be there, and that's great. Again, that's the idea that they're profiting off the GPs is okay. That's fine. I'm fine with them making dollars.
There are two things at play here. One is, yes, I get that you're a business and you exchange currency for goods and services. Like obviously, when you're holding GPs are intended to be promotional tools, but to also make money. They are not there just for your benefits as a player to be super value. It's nice when you win and can make some coin, or you play in a bunch of side events and get some good value out of that. But I understand that the going way ahead of time to put that much money invested into it and et cetera, should lead to some return. But the flip side of that is $240 for a team to enter this GP it's getting to be a bridge too far. I mean, we complained when GPs got to $60 to $70 to $80. There was a $100 GP recently that we were like, hey, remember that GP where they offered snacks for $100?
Well, no, they offered you
the nap area,
a VIP experience. That's what they offer. That's not what you're getting here. You're getting the base level. Here's some packs. Good luck. Hope you make day 2. Like
crazy.
This is where you say you're getting to the point where and this has been discussed previously, which is just give everyone a premium experience, and that's what they did at that one Grand Prix over in Japan, which was you paid $100, but by God, you got all the goodies, you got all the extras, you got all the benefits, and that's also a way that an event can be run in terms of like there's going to be a 1,000-person GP. It's going to cost you $120 to play in it, but by God, you're going to get a play match, you're going to get a bag, you're going to get a pin, you're going to get a massage, you're going to get snacks and water and all this other stuff they're able to give you, because that's the experience that they're able to provide you. Because if you're not okay with bare minimum being this high, I swear to God, all you have to do is not play in it. I swear. We're here and we're talking about it, and if that thing sells out, nothing will change. I promise you, 0 will change until players stop doing that. Is it gatekeeping to keep players, to keep the attendance down? Maybe. To the point where, if you sell out, that becomes a space problem. If you have too many attendees, that also becomes a space problem, because then you can't have side events. Like, all of these things work together. And yes, judge costs are a thing. And yes, Wizards used to be able to, get around a lot of... create themselves a financial problem by giving them what is 10 cents and is actually worth $100. That's a whole thing. That's why Judge Foils kind of went the way they did. But the idea that yes, judge costs are a thing, and yes, that these people may make money, and yes, that if it is too much for you, you don't have to do it. That to me is sort of these pillars here, is that to understand that it's okay to make money. There's a lot of costs you're not thinking about, and you vote with your wallet. That's what you got to do. So if we're having problems, that's how you solve them. Okay, that's it. Moving on here to GDS 3, GDS Tokyo Drift, if you will.
Don't bother.
And it was a really cool update. This is where essentially they're like, well, we put it on hold for a while so that now we can get into a very cyclical, every week you're going to get updates, because they've kind of front loaded a little bit, and you're also going to be able to go back and look at some of their favorite designs and their critiques of the previous submissions, which I thought was super fascinating. One of the cards that they liked the most, for example, was a green-blue card for like 8 mana that said you can make 2 2s equal to the number of cards in your hand, or draw a number of cards equal to the creatures you control, and you can do that in any order. And that was just like, oh, that's a cool little thing, because you want to draw and then make the stuff. You want to make the stuff and make the, that was really sweet. So those are the type of things that you're able to see. There's some really cool ideas that are in here. It's also super, like, they're not pulling punches. Like, when they don't like something, they slice it and dice it.
That's my favorite. I love looking back at the old Great Designer Searches 1 and 2 and looking for these, especially the guys that got hired by WotC eventually, or the things that they ended up using eventually, and they were just like, I'm not sure that colorless mana should be a thing that should be in a casting cost.
There was one of those in here too. They mentioned like enchantment removal, and it's like, did you not think of Chain to the Rocks? Like, yeah, the card I particularly enjoyed was, I'm trying to find the designer who did it, but there was a card that they suggested. There were several that I liked. There was a card called Mama Bear. Here we go. There was a young man named Jay Treat, and one of his designs was a card called Bucket List, which I'm like, why is that not a card? Like, and it was basically an enchantment where when you cast a spell of a type showing on Bucket List, you put a counter over it and draw a card. If all 5 types on Bucket List have counters on them, sacrifice it and draw 1 more card. So it's kind of like Demonic Pact, except with casting cards. And the main feedback that this got was that it would be very difficult to track, but they seemed really intrigued with the idea. But yeah, I love the idea of that card.
Yeah, and there's another one where it's a mythic creature that when it enters the battlefield, your opponent starts to reveal 1 card at a time.
Yes.
And you choose whether they get to keep it or discard it, and you keep going until they make you discard 1. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I would love to see that happen. That seems fantastic.
There was a neat take on Kaya, bringing Kaya back. There was a great take on Rel Zarek that they seem to really love. And yeah, many cards here that I would love to see in play someday, and even just certain mechanics and rules that there's good stuff here.
Yeah, it's really cool when Numero's like,
if the past is any indication, we will see not just the winner, but probably 2, possibly 3 of these folks working eventually within R&D.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, and there's a lot of good ideas here, and it's interesting to see what the ones they didn't like versus the one they like, and when they kind of go all in and they're like, this card is super unfun. I don't know why you would make this unfun thing, because it's not fun, and that's kind of awkward. It's okay.
And since we never actually went over who made it into the top 8 of the players, I have the list here. It's Alex Warner, Ari Nia, Chris Mooney, Jay Treat, Jeremy Geist, Linus Ulysses Hamilton, Ryan Siegel Steckler, and Scott Wilson. And I think a couple of these folks were in previous Great Designer Searches as well.
At least one of them. I think it was Jay, but I could be incorrect.
Jeremy Geist, that name is awesome. That's like such a rock star name, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. All right, so moving here to Going Infinite, where I really don't like this. I just don't. You know, if you're not going to learn from history, you're just going to repeat it. This pre-modern thing is ridiculous. I can't get it. Somebody tell me why this is a good idea, please.
So pre-modern was brought to everyone's attention thanks to Joel Larsson. He had tweeted that he was getting a deck ready to play an event in Sweden, and he included a link to a Facebook group, which then led to a website. So pre-modern is a community-created constructed format consisting of the sets from 4th edition to Scourge.
Right.
The card pool.
It's basically everything that isn't old school or modern.
Correct. And so this is seen as a more accessible point to old school, which has been gaining popularity lately, but can be kind of restrictive due to some variants or some groups that don't let you use reprints. And basically old school is kind of just vintage. It's just a different shade of vintage. You still have the Moxen, you still have the library, you still have the bazaars, so if you're doing all of that, you might as well just play vintage. So, because pre-modern starts at 4th edition, it seems to be more affordable. It also has a very extensive ban list. For example, Brainstorm is banned, Entomb is banned, Force of Will is banned, Necropotence is banned, things
and then a lot of your usuals, like that that definitely should be banned. Things like Channel and Demonic Consultation are
there's
also...
There's also cards that, have Show and Tell is banned. Cards that are good enough for Legacy and even Vintage, and even Old School are not allowed in this. So I think it's a neat take. I think it's a nice way to address, they say that you be the change you want to see in the world. So if you have a problem with Old School or if Vintage isn't your thing, I appreciate people kind of trying to do that rather than, complaining about it or whatever. I just feel like, again, we have this track record of these formats not really taking off. Tiny Leaders, Frontier. You know, I just don't know if it has legs, but I appreciate the concept. If I had people to play with, I'd play it.
Sure. I like the fact that you can play some of these, for example, old extended decks from the old days. You get to play Tricks. You could play Rexer in this format. I mean, it is possible to play a lands style strategy in addition to stuff like, you know, Mono Brown Stompy and Sly. And there's lots of really cool archetypes that are legal in this format. Again, I get it, Evan. This is Frontier or Tiny Leaders all over again. This is another community-driven format that might not take off. But look, if people are having fun playing it, let them have their fun. It's not like they're trying to take over.
And that's what I was about to say. I'm like, look, if this is how you have fun with Magic, that's great. I love that. Go nuts. You know, I feel like it. If someone essentially tries to buy in, you know, it's a format that just is going to vaporize at some point. It's just Tiny Leaders. People like bought in on that type of format, and it's just gone. They bought in on this Frontier thing, and it's gone. I just don't like seeing people sort of go into a thing that just doesn't have a longevity to it.
Well, if they're already discontent with the options that are out there and they're not spending the money anyway, I mean, what harm is that doing? Like, again, they could be buying nothing, not playing in events, and being miserable, or they could be trying to do something about it. And so, you know, I applaud people for, even if it may not take off and even if it may not last, I appreciate people trying at least to find their happiness.
And yet, there is still no justice for Earthcraft on the ban list. Unbelievable.
I think it's very believable, personally.
Some people's children, I'll tell you what.
Wow. All right, so I set up the contest wrong, I found out. It currently has 29 days to go. 29 days for that $50 gift certificate. We're gonna cut close here. It'll be a close one. That's fine, and I'm fixing that. But either way, again, I'm not trying to yuck the yum. You like it, go nuts. I'm just like, I just feel like it's weird to get people excited about a thing that has such a little chance of being a thing.
Sure.
That's all.
It's just another old school variant. Old school is very difficult to get into because cards are expensive. You know, not everybody wants to play Modern, even though that's people miss playing things like Rebels, right? Sure. Or they wanna get their Goblins on, right? Or their Astral Slides, or these ridiculous cards that don't get their love anymore. And so now you get to play some of those lesser loved. You know, even nowadays, folks can't even really play Standstill in Legacy anymore. You get to play Standstill in this format, which is pretty sweet.
There you go. So there was an interesting question answer on, as Twitch pointed out, we know more about pre-modern than we know about Battle Bond, don't we? I mean, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I can't help it. Wizards, please. Wizards.
My Anaconda don't want none unless you got Battle Bond.
Well, someone asked Mark Rosewater and said, hey, I loved Eldritch Moon, which turns out, and even as Aaron, you said you were sort of looking into some of your favorite cards as of recently, a lot of good, fantastic cards, all right up your alley in Shadow's block. But Eldritch Moon, they said, it felt was successfully the unnerving Eldrazi they kind of wanted from BFZ, and me, I wanted a lot more from BFZ than that. But did Wizards of the Coast learn anything from Eldritch Moon on how to effectively portray the Eldrazi next time? And he was like, yeah, show very little of them. Less is more with the Eldrazi. A lot less.
I think that you're misinterpreting what Mark Rosewater is saying.
Well, sure.
I think you are willfully ignoring.
I think, well, no. What he's saying is that, you know, if they're going to be a big bad, they need to be very subtle about it, and it can play the long game, and you don't have to put them right in front of everybody's faces, and they don't have to be Eldrazi right in front of your face either, and that's fine. And seriously, if they make Rise of the Eldrazi 3.0, I'm going to freak out. Because we've already went through 2.
That might be a little difficult because he also addresses on his Blogatog, somebody asked him if Kozilek and Ulamog were really dead, and he says yes. And a lot of people had speculated that, you know, maybe those were avatars and like they were like maybe somewhere in the eternities and like maybe it really didn't happen. And he's like, oh no, girl, they're dead. So if he answered it, yes.
So is
like,
Nicol Bolas. But you know, what is dead may never die. Look,
I think it's much more devastating to just have Emrakul chilling in the moon, you know?
That's fair. I think that it's likely that we will see the Eldrazi again, but we won't see them for it'll be like Dominario. We won't see them for a decade.
Right, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally, like, seriously, if we can go back to Indiana Jones world and not Rise of the Eldrazi X.0, that would be sweet.
That's where Nissa went back to, right?
Yeah.
The story?
Too soon. Too soon.
I mean, I guess. All I know is, no spoilers, but, you know, if you think that Infinity War stuff stays forever, just saying. If you think the Eldrazi are gone forever, you know, I don't feel...
That was not really a spoiler. The comics
feel
have been
so
out
good,
for
Ruben.
20 years.
Ruben,
yeah,
I don't feel so...
I don't feel so...
Woo! Oh my God. All right, because I know this is going to take some time and I want to make sure we get all of it in here. First, we're going to announce our winner for the contest of a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com, which of course we appreciate our sponsor providing. Daniel T. from La Plata, Maryland, if I'm saying that correct, or La Plata.
La Plata in the house.
Because I'm
La Plata.
Southern. Hey, y'all. Y'all from
get La Plata food.
Get you La Plata food ready to go. What's little Magic Mike's, y'all? Well, look.
That's a hell of a thing that y'all put together there.
I know, right? I'll hit you up on your email you provided for your gift certificate, which is cool. Want to thank our subscribers and our bits givers. Thanks very much to our top 3 bits givers: Drunk Gaming, Riptide Pro Lab, and J-Dubs 2008, which is appreciated. David Garfinkel, which we mentioned earlier. Let's see here. We have Martin Kaka, which we mentioned for a tier 1. And also, while we weren't here, or at least we must not have noticed exactly, Blazing_Disciple, tier 1 subscriber. Thank you. Mr.
Nice.
Lubufu, tier 1. Thank you very much.
Hey.
Which is fantastic. From 3 days ago, and again, this is amazing. Promethean Chaos 66 subscribed tier 1
on Sunday. Did I miss that one?
Yeah, Raccoon Toyd subscribed tier 1, and Valid Pixel also subscribed.
Look at that! We got 1,000 more bits.
Wow!
You will have, and you'll have an opportunity to subscribe again when I do my Patreon stream on Sunday, because Evan's bad at plugging us, so we're on our own here.
You're not on your own. I'm just, you know, I was busy.
I will be doing my Patreon stream on Sunday, so come say hello. I'll be doing some, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I might do some EDH. I might wrestle up some friends. I might do some vintage. I don't know. I'm kind of open to anything at this point.
Let's get our potatoes going.
I hear there's a mono black deck in Standard. I saw someone kill someone with a Cabal Stronghold and Torment of Hailfire and Josu. Like, I'm in, so
awesome.
We'll see what I can find. Yeah.
Well, for those who have access to the gold Mikesies sort of trophy, which is in our top tier, feel free to show those off.
Yeah,
that's really terrific. And thanks again to all our subscribers.
Thank you.
And the extra 1,000-bit bump here from Drunk Gaming. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, very nice.
Really Drunk Gaming, you're
just very nice. Thank you so much.
But that means we get to turn the corner to the finisher. This week, Vorthos is rejoiced as we finally got to the Slimefoot origin story and return to Dominaria's 10th chapter from Martha Wells. With all of the attention paid to the famed Stowaway Online and the social media marketing campaign #Where's Slimefoot, we're excited to finally say #There's Slimefoot. So now that we have official canon on the Weatherlight's most lovable Thallid, where would you like for the viral, or should I say fungal, marketing campaign have Slimefoot show up next? Ruben?
Well, capitalizing on the recent controversy surrounding one Mr. Kanye West's Twitter account with his thoughts on the UN, the current president, and slavery, which gained the rapper over 8 million followers in 24 hours, Magic the Gathering plans to launch a new campaign featuring the fungal phenomenon and the Louis Vuitton Von Yeezus. Yo, Slimefoot, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish. But Gav Guru of Spores was one of the best legendary funguses of all time.
Yes.
Last legendary funguses don't sleep.
Forgot about Gav.
Because they're fungus.
Don't forget about Gav.
Aaron?
Well, my most favorite viral video on the internet right now is on Deadspin and features a furious woman in a Tim Hortons making a 1/1 token of her own right on the floor and then throwing it at employees. So I'm hoping Wizard sees the possibilities and produces some epic 1/1 poop emoji Slimefoot tokens. Just don't.
Oh God, it's disturbing. It's actually seriously disturbing.
I hope y'all don't mind that I posted the link to the video in the chat.
Just be careful with that one, okay?
Yeah, not safe for life.
Not safe for life in SFL. Oh well, obviously, The biggest and darkest meme to come out of 2018 so far is the Tide Pod Challenge, where somehow people have decided that eating a Tide Pod would be a thing they should do. Don't do that. Just so we're clear, don't even get close to it. Don't make fun of it. Don't put it in your mouth ever, period. Now, I can think of another thing that people think they should consume that they definitely 100% shouldn't. So I'm excited for the Tide Magic Sapperling Tide Pods, where you should absolutely not ever, in a million years ever, hashtag eat the Tide Pod, baby.
Yes,
it's
don't
not,
eat the baby.
We have to have this argument again. It's not a baby.
It's a baby.
It's not.
It's the end of the story. They're just like, it's just little friends. It's little baby friends.
Salads are different than you know what? Never mind.
All right, good. Well, that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here live to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you, baby.
Oh my God.
Eat the baby. Hashtag thank the baby.
Hashtag thank the baby. That said, I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening and or subscribing and supporting. Hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Visit our website at magicmikespodcast.com or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, our Magic Mike subreddit, or like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately on magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.
Hashtag 5 sapperlings is a good one.
I like that. I dig that. I appreciate that. Good night, everybody.